Hi, everyone. As many of you know, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Health Awareness Month. And the brain is my favorite topic. Actually, I have been focused on neurological diseases and neurodegenerative diseases for my entire career. Thought originally about going into neurology, but actually chose not to because at the time when I was in residency or going into residency, the field of neurology was spending a lot of time labeling conditions and not as much time trying to unravel them and figure out what was causing them and halt them or reverse them. And I had a knowing that it was possible to heal the brain. And at the time I was going into residency, which would have been, in the mid to late 90s, 1990s, the dogma was there was no healing in the central nervous system. No one was even talking about neuroplasticity much at that time. Okay, so I chose to go into internal medicine so I could really move into functional medicine and dive deeply with people that had neurodegenerative disorders, including Alzheimer's and dementia, to figure out what were the underlying factors at play. So I literally have been investigating this for almost 25 years. And it is clear to me that there are many factors at play, but mitochondrial dysfunction is probably the number one factor. So the mitochondria, as I talk about so often, are the little energy factories of our cells that take oxygen from the air we breathe, glucose from our food, run it through the electron transport chain to produce ATP. And ATP is the energy currency of the body that fuels all the chemical reactions. But ATP production within your cell is absolutely critical for cell health. You know, if you keep that optimized, your cells are healthy. If you keep that optimized, you don't age. If you keep that optimized, you don't develop most of the diseases that people develop. So what can we do to optimize mitochondrial health? Well, there's been some enormous breakthroughs in the last few years that it's really changing how I'm thinking about the mitochondria. So things that we can do, like for example, oral or intravenous methylene blue. This is a very old medication that's been used. It's in every emergency department in the country, if not the world, for treating different types of poisonings and things like this. But it can be used safely orally in the correct doses and by only under the watch of a physician, very knowledgeable about this, intravenously, to help upregulate mitochondrial function. And there's really interesting data about that helping kind of neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and many others. It's also good for just routine cognitive decline. So methylene blue. Now, to supercharge methylene blue, you compare that with red light devices and near infrared light devices. As I've spoken again many times, the red light and near infrared light will liberate the final enzyme in the electron transport chain that tends to get blocked by intracellular nitric oxide. And when it's blocked, it can't produce as much ATP. And the red light and near infrared light will knock that nitric oxide off that enzyme so that it's freed up to begin optimally producing ATP again. Extraordinary. So when you pair methylene blue with the red light and near infrared light devices, you can upregulate mitochondrial function in a very significant way. And that can be incredibly good for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and just routine memory loss. And there's great data on even just the red light and near infrared light devices alone. The other thing that's incredible is intravenous NAD. So NAD is one of the rate limiting steps in energy production in the mitochondria. And you can increase that substantially with IV administration. You can increase it slowly by taking some of the NAD precursors orally. So whatever approach you're needing to take, depending on the severity of your situation, you can enhance mitochondrial energy production. IV NAD has also been shown to enhance something called mitophagy, which is the recycling of old damaged mitochondria and the production of new or pristine mitochondria. So, wow, I mean, we have so many tools now that can really optimize the mitochondria, which is indispensable for the brain and for the body at large. Okay, so aside from mitochondrial approaches to upregulate mitochondria functioning, you also want to look at heavy metals. You ideally want to check your heavy metals, detox heavy metals if they're elevated, because we know mercury is an underpinning for dementia. We also know aluminum elevation can be as well. And I personally think almost any other heavy metal, because why? Heavy metals are lipophilic. They don't like to live in the water compartments of the body. They like to live in the fatty compartments of the body. So they go into storage in the fatty compartments, and a large fat reservoir in the body is in the brain, because the cell membranes are largely comprised of fat. So look at your heavy metals, detox those. If you have a lot of fat soluble toxins in the body, like most of us do, you may even consider the PK protocol. So PK protocol is intravenous phospholipid therapy, where you're giving the predominant phospholipid, phosphatidylcholine, in progressively higher and higher doses, which can sweep out toxins that are lodged in your cell membranes. And you follow that by working with IV glutathione as a sulfating agent, folinic acid, and methylcobalamin as methylating agents. So you're sweeping and then mopping up and eliminating those toxins from the brain and body. That can be very helpful for the brain. And then, of course, exercise, meditation, and don't forget, kind of investigating the biography that you've stored in your anatomy, because my just kind of casual observation of working with patients over 25 years is that oftentimes someone has a childhood trauma, or they've had very traumatic relationships in their life, even as an adult, but they haven't done the work to go in and excavate all of that and release the trapped emotions and just kind of clear the dissonance out of their field. It's almost like there's just I don't want to blame anyone for developing any illness, because that's not what this is about. But there's almost like it's a way of checking out so they don't have to face it. So I encourage each of you, and myself and everyone, to really do the work of being a human being, which is to understand that things happen to us, and really they can be a tremendous catalyst for growth if they're examined and cleared, and they can be a tremendous catalyst for disease if they're stuffed and harbored and unexamined over time. So highly recommend doing the work that I outline in my book, Your Pristine Blueprint. And I think if we all did that, we'd have a lot less disease on the planet, including cognitive and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Finally, diet plays a huge role, and we know very much now, with great data behind it, that moving away from carbohydrates and sugar in the diet, moving more toward eating less and incorporating more protein, vegetables, and healthy fats is so much better for the brain. It's like if you can kind of remind your body how to burn fat as fuel in addition to carbohydrate as fuel, you will keep your brain healthier. And so many people have said Alzheimer's is kind of like diabetes of the brain. I would say that is absolutely correct. And so highly recommend caloric restriction, intermittent fasting, and kind of leaning in the direction of a ketogenic diet, and just to see what happens. Sometimes the lights turn on. And then finally, I'm going to mention one of my favorite products, and I am involved in this company because I am so passionate about it. It is called Mana, and this contains shilajit and water from the Dead Sea that's vortex together. And the shilajit has long been known to be very helpful for preventing cognitive decline, and has been historically observed. And now in the modern day, a lot of research has been done to really kind of figure out why that is. We know that shilajit is great for upregulating mitochondrial function, for releasing tissue-specific growth factors like brain drive, neuro growth factors, and it's just almost like a nootropic. So when people take it, you can just be sharper, your memories are more close at hand, and cognitive studies have been done on people and animals that just show enhanced performance on people taking shilajit daily. So there's so much that can be done, and I am here to support, as well as all the other doctors at Clear and Jaizen Labs. And so come talk to us.